So first of all, yes, thank you very much for opening up the opportunity for us to share some of the insights that we gained from a research project that started many years ago and that will go on for many years, and it's very multifaceted. And yeah, I want to share a very, very high-level aggregation and synthesis of what we found, because James was really hard with me on 3 slides. So, and before starting that, I would like to invite you into an experience. So just imagine, I want to invite you to experience 2 different kinds of worlds that all of you know, every human being knows, and all of you know. So just imagine the right-hand side now, the right hand is the first world, and the left hand is the other world. And just imagine, or remember, and for sure you know that, a situation when you worked in a team, in a project, in an organization, whatever kind of scale, and you felt like, oh my God, we're really not coming to a result here. And the kind of result that we achieve is not at all the kind of result that we put out there when talking about the vision or the mission beforehand. You probably know the situation, you're sitting in a team, if you look at it at a team scale, you're sitting in a team, you're working for 2 hours, for 3 hours, and you leave the room and say, oh my gosh, I need a beer or an aspirin. I really have to, physically, I have to medicate myself and I really don't want to be with you people anymore. Leave me alone. But somehow I'm contracted to you. You know the situation. You have something in mind. Can be your team. Many people say, well, yeah, my family. But you have something in mind, yeah? Any kind of situation, probably from your workspace. Not your organization, but any organization you worked before. So this is this world, yeah? We really felt it was energy depleting, draining. And then I want to invite you into this other world. So I'm making it black and white. I'm German, you know, Germans like to have it black and white and simple. So there's this other world. You work perhaps for a year, or you work for a day with a team, or you were in a situation, an organization, and every time you leave this people, you say, oh my gosh, every time I'm being with you guys, I feel smarter afterwards. Every time we are engaging on a task or on a project, we create extraordinary results that also, if somebody would come in and observe us, couldn't replicate and couldn't copy-paste. You have this kind of, you have something in mind. Hopefully all like built upon people or situations or the organization you're working right now. So this is 2 kind of worlds. And now you could say, well, Christoph, that's really nice. So yeah, I know this kind of situation, right? Yeah, the one is family and the other is work. Like, this one is family and this one is, no. Like, this one is work and this one is family. And then I often hear, well, you don't know my family, yeah? Or like, but you don't know my work. And I just had an interview with a person like, every single day I leave this work here, and we make high leverage work on a policy level really high in the German government, and every day I leave this team, on each evening I can say to myself, this was a great day. And I'm working since 20 years in this field, and it's the first team that I'm able to say that. And our outcomes are extraordinary. I could say, well, that's nice, Christoph, being happy. So what's the point? Yeah? Therefore, we have resource management to make checkboxes. So I want to connect this experience that all of you have with data. And this is the research project that we have. So the first situation, and now please speak up if you don't hear me anymore. The first situation I try to describe, I invite you to experience in, is somehow this kind of experience. You're working in a team in any kind of system, and you have somehow the feeling it's not at all integrated. It's really, whenever we are together, we can't align ourselves. We don't have a shared purpose, and I don't know at all what is your unique contribution to that. Because I don't care about you, because why should I? Yeah? And the other situation, which is the upper right picture, which I gratefully copy-pasted from a book you might know from Steve Waddell on Global Action Networks, is this really aligned organization. It's not about brainwashing, but it's about having a shared purpose, walking into the similar direction, and having agreements that allow us to do that. And what we find now, to create this experience, to link it back to data, what we find now in 92 countries and in depth with 72 groups, with 77 groups, and with data points from 2,400 survey data points in 11 languages. So it's independent of culture and it's independent of race or whatever. What we find here, that we always find organizations, and I will give you concrete examples of organizations and systems of any scale that describe the first experience are always, and we have no one data point who says something different. And here universities like Harvard, MIT, Boston College, from Germany there are some universities in there, Cape Town, etc. No one other data point says that when you describe the second experience, second human experience, like the energy, no, the first one, sorry, the energy draining experience, you are successful. So what we always find is those groups who describe the energy enhancing experience are starting with 100% more of the outcomes. And what's really interesting here, 2 points. A, I know there's a person from Deloitte in the room. A managing director from Deloitte New York actually helped us to see something really crucial here. Because what we can now see is, you can actually really start to measure what we call scarcity, that really feels scarce. And this feels really abundant. Yeah, we have a lot of possibilities. There's a lot to gain, and we're really successful in the outcomes. And this is straightforward to measure. What are the costs of being here, or what are the benefits of having this one? So those groups, A, do not do something really special, they just do the ordinary. And currently, the majority of the organizations on this planet unconsciously use management practices, they lead them to underperformance. And this is what we do, and it's like quality management. You can't measure the benefits of quality, but you can measure if you have what you do when you have less quality. So we're using a similar principle. So what kind of groups are doing that despite families? Just some really short examples. I try to compile a range of different groups on different levels. And what I already mentioned, like we find those groups that have different, and I will come to what are the four key, like what are the key things that we currently found out, what are they doing. We find it from a member of German parliament, a team of the member of German parliament, being on the very right edge of the bell curve, having extraordinary results. It's just mind-blowing to myself as well to observe it, what they are doing, and how they achieve with a third of the resource input, triple the outcome. It's just mind-blowing. And we had an example yesterday from communications, and therefore it's so interesting. And another one, or like we are working with the Yes Network. We work with the Yes Network in Latin America, doing a major multi-stakeholder integration and actually supporting them. So you actually, you can be there, but it's also very easy and straightforward to move into this one. There's a manufacturing company. They're producing socks, and Martina Navratilova and Andrew Agassi say, no other socks will enter my feet because the quality is just so mind-blowing different. And the same for me. I'm only wearing the socks. And what's interesting is the normal product margin for socks, by letting produce them in China, is with 3%. And the whole supply chain is in the United States. And their product margin since 10 to 15 years is with 45%. And they pay above average wages. So how do they do that? I mean, this is not possible, like with a bumblebee, you know? It can't be. Bumblebee can't fly. Sorry. So, and then, for example, the Comprehensive Energy Plan, a massive multi-stakeholder group from Greenpeace activists to nuclear power associations. Never talk to each other. And by moving and changing the agreements of how to interact and start to understand how do we have to align, yes? They were able to create a comprehensive energy plan which says by 2050, Vermont, as a state in the United States, in New England, by 2050, we all agree and we never agreed before. We all agree to 90% renewable energies, and now it's state law. So it's possible. A massive multi-stakeholder thing. And it's the same for Ghana, where Ghana says, well, how can we align whole Ghana to move beyond what happened many hundred years ago and for many hundred years, and that we can leapfrog into a different reality for the whole country. And there we're working with the president, with the presidential office. Under an industry association in Germany, I just skip this. So the question is, it's really nice examples, but how are they doing on a really high level now? And in the end, I'm completely aware that I don't tell you anything new. You all know that. It's just perhaps inviting you to shift the focus and do not never ever accept this other kind of energy depleting experience. This is one of my core messages when you work in this project. Because when you start to experience this feeling, oh my God, well, it really feels like this, you can by definition not be, at least that's what we find with hard data, you cannot be successful. So what is it we find? And this is the last slide, and I hope that I still have you give me 1 minute. Thank you. 2, that's great. So what is it we find? And we're using really simple 4 questions, or 4 lenses, which are currently, resources, allocation, value, and organization. You might know those fields, massive fields of inquiry and research. And those questions, at least since the Babylonians, humanity always asked those kinds of questions. How much do we have of what? Who decides of who gets what of what we have? How do we organize this? And what's actually the value criteria of how we organize? And currently, it's like a linear process. We have resources, we organize the resources, and we have a value output. Added, customer value, whatever. And then we somehow have the allocation, which is a leadership question or the power question. And we understood, well, you can use those questions, the understanding behind that, and actually understand it's just 4 different lenses on the same thing, which are the 2 worlds. And when we apply those 4 lenses onto those groups, up there, we always find, it doesn't matter which culture we're in, the only thing, that resources are only the stuff that we have. It's only the thing I can see as what I think is there. And you'd put it so nicely. The building, and I think architects are really great in it. Because it's not, when is the building real? When you build it? When you start constructing it? Or when you can envision it? When is baby real? When it comes out? When you're pregnant? Or when the 2 people look in their eyes and say, I can imagine to have a baby? When is it real? So, and this is what SAP, for example, does with this design thinking stuff. Yeah? Creating methodology to understand resources do not have to be in place only. Or it's important that you have a good CD, but I see the possibility to develop your resources you carry in yourself. And this completely changes the multi-stakeholder process. The second thing that we see always, like here, is not like envisioning a resource to be different and to be there. And what we see in the allocation question, so which is the power question, this is the economic question. What we see in the power question is always, again and again, it doesn't matter where, it's not only the premise of the group has to decide. It's only about consensus, or it's only about the leadership, or it's only about the owner. But it's about, yes, it's about the person who has power in place, who is more responsible, and I really engage in a circular manner, the family, what you're doing right now here, to tap into the power of the cloud, or the power of hashtags, whatever. Yeah? And those are really old principles, and it's nothing new to Western societies. What we always find in value, so what are you valuing? What are those groups valuing, or those versus those groups? Well, the only thing that we value are the outcomes. I don't care if you learn. I don't care about relationships. The only thing, you are a human resource, you are a hand here to produce stuff. And it's not about relations. This is fuzzy stuff for girls, you know? It's all about the important thing. You know, we're realistic. Look at the real stuff. What we can see and touch. And what we always find, so it's also what we find here. It's also about finding agreements and practices and tools, and there are massive tool sets to do that, and I won't dive into that, that allow us to say, yes, it is about the outcomes. The stock company, I mean, all those organizations before, they're highly competitive, but they figured out that the better way of being competitive, this is they're only competitive, but the better way of being competitive is being collaborative. Collaboration is the better way of being competitive. Nowadays, and then I come to a point, we always say, well, let's do a lot of collaboration. Then we do collaboration. We try to do that with this kind of value set. Doesn't work. So my key message here for you that I want to leave from what we find is whenever you start to engage with each other in this project and you started to have the structure, which is this one, an organizing principles, it's a social question. The stakeholder process is a social question, it's an organizing structure that you are giving yourself. Always ask, what kind of value sets, what kind of allocation mechanisms or decision and power mechanisms do we have in play, and how do we envision stuff that support us to really actually live into that? And I just accompanied another company and they don't want it to listen. So you're too young, how do you know? And now they collapse because exactly due to this question. It was a market leader in Germany on a specific topic, and they just completely collapsed because what happened? People who entered like this completely collapsed. And a person who's like this, can she or he be creative, innovative, and tap into the power of the vision? Thank you very much.